Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control, NCDC, puts COVID-19 confirmed cases at 30, with 28 active cases and 2 discharged. Kwara and Lagos state government order civil servants to stay at home for 14 days to contain spread of coronavirus. Churches in Abuja and Kaduna states defy government's ban on religious gatherings as Lagos and Ogun experience almost total compliance. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel goes into quarantine after a doctor who gave her a vaccine tests positive for COVID-19. Plus, we have sports stories much later. The figures are rising. Health and safety officials are on red alert, and precautions are being taken by everyone to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus in Nigeria. Today, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, confirmed 8 new cases of the virus, putting the total figure of cases confirmed in Nigeria at 30. The NCDC says of the 30 confirmed cases, 28 of them are active, while 2 have already been discharged. A further breakdown shows that Lagos State now has 22 cases, the Federal Capital Territory Abuja 4, Ogun State has 2, Ekiti and Oyo states have 1 case each. On the 3 latest cases announced this evening, the first amongst them is a Nigerian male with a 2-week history of dry cough, intermittent high-grade fever and general pains. He was reportedly in Dubai for 2 weeks and has since been on admission for 3 days with chest X-ray and CT scans suggestive of pneumonia. While the second case announced today is also a Nigerian man without a travel history. He's said to be the driver of a known positive case. And the third case, a Nigerian female who returned from the US on March the 8th. The NCDC says Nigeria does not have any record of death. Now, Lagos State seems to be the most affected at this point, and the rising cases have kept Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his team on their toes. Today, the governor asked public officers from grade level 1 to 12 in the state civil service to stay at home for the next 14 days as a precaution to contain the spread of the virus in the state. The governor is also asking all retired health workers, nurses and doctors to come out to give a helping hand to officials giving medical aid.
I'm now hereby also directing that all public officers in the entire unified public service from grade level 1 to 12, which constitute about 70% of our entire public workforce, should stay at home from Monday, 23rd March 2020 for 14 days at the first instance. We'll review this as time goes on. Members of the public are advised to refrain from visiting any of our public offices and to transact such businesses as is possible, that we can do this on the phone or online channels. This stay at home does not affect all of our first responders, meaning the medical personnel are still meant to be at their duty posts. Our fire service, members of the Lagos State Emergency Management Authority, LOMA, and other essential services are not affected by this directive. We're working to wrap up our capacity to take on new cases as they are confirmed. Other health facilities will in due time be deployed to support the mainland infectious disease hospital. In fact, to mention that we have evacuated other patients out of that hospital, and so the hospital will be locked down only for the COVID-19 cases alone. And so we're wrapping up also the infrastructure and the renovation in that particular hospital to be able to take additional patients. We're also setting up additional facilities at both at Bagada General Hospital, and we've also identified locations in our 5 Ibile division around the state, just so in the event that we need to wrap up isolation center at the various locations outside of the infectious disease center in Yaba. More health workers are also being trained and retrained, and we've put on notice some of our retired nurses and doctors who we believe will come at this very time to support our health personnel who are working so tirelessly at this time. Since my last address on Friday, 28th March 2020, we have seen an increased number. Let me say that this confirmation are evidence that the system is working, that we are actively and promptly tracking and testing suspected cases. Regarding the markets, even coming out from this meeting, we've had conversation with the headship of our markets, from the Iyaloja General to all of the market men and women. And part of the things we have said to them is that, advocacy, they need to also scale it up immediately, right? That they must ensure that even when people come to the market, they begin to obey this self-isolation and movement away.
Nationwide, security operatives are also concerned about the spread of the virus, and the Inspector General of Police is asking everyone to voluntarily adhere to the directives on curbing the spread of COVID-19. Aside from asking for voluntary compliance, Mr. Mohammed Adamu has also asked all zonal assistant inspectors general of police and commissioners of police nationwide to ensure that all legitimate orders are strictly enforced within their areas of jurisdiction. The police chief further directs the zonal AIGs and command CPs to ensure that cases of unnecessary arrests and detention of suspects are not condoned. He also advised against social visits to police stations and other police officers, and the immediate closure of the Nigeria Police Academy, as well as all police primary and secondary schools nationwide. Now let's take a look at the compliance level to the social distancing directive on restriction on crowded religious activities. Today, churches in Abuja and Kaduna states defied advice by authorities to avoid large gatherings and maintain social distancing in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Some of the worshippers who attended Sunday's church service say despite the advice and restriction, they rely on God for his protection against the virus.
Just like in several other countries of the world where the outbreak of coronavirus is spreading by the day, Nigeria has so far recorded some cases. This has prompted both government and the Christian Association of Nigeria to come up with an advisory and restrictions on how to contain the spread of the disease in the country. Last week, the Kaduna State Government and the Christian Association of Nigeria banned gatherings of more than 50 people and also recommended social distancing as a means of halting the spread of the virus. But on the first Sunday after the advice, worshippers trooped into several churches, defying the advice. At the St. Joseph's Catholic Cathedral in the Kaduna State capital, worshippers converged in total disobedience to the advice for people to maintain social distancing and avoid large gatherings. As part of measures to ensure a clean and hygienic environment for service, hand sanitizers and water were provided at the entrance of the church, where worshippers were subjected to hand washing and application of sanitizers before entering for service.
We are doing it for prevention. And they said that diseases entered Nigeria. We are doing it, but everything under the hand of God.
Few other churches like the Apostolic Church complied with the advice of not having large gatherings for service.
Only few of us, according to what we heard, are the people that are worshiping, less than 30 people. I believe in God because our government are doing very well in order to tackle this menace, but I believe strongly that we'll be out from this problem.
For some of the worshippers, a frightened world full of epidemics like the new coronavirus needs a fearless church to go into prayers for God's intervention.
Single prayer and collective prayer are not the same in the eyes of God. Because when you are together praying, God hears prayer. God may even listen to the little child among you people.
Although the Catholic Church at Area 3 in Abuja prevented our crew from filming its service, the situation is largely the same in the nation's capital, Abuja, as the Methodist Church held Mother's Day Thanksgiving service, just as the Celestial Church of Christ held an abridged service.
We have received a directive that the maximum number we can have in this service should not be more than 50, and we have complied. There's no need for us to have many people still hanging around after the service.
What we need first is prayer, and you cannot prevent us from praying. So even if they say we should be 50, the 50 will pray. The second 50 will gather somewhere. They will pray.
As coronavirus continues to spread with its attendant effect on socio-economic activities around the world, it appears some religious groups believe worshipping in large gathering outweighs public health concerns.
Back in Lagos State, where the highest number of confirmed cases have been recorded, churches were left with no option but to comply with the directive of the state government. While some resorted to holding sermons on television and digital platforms, others that held services were sparsely seated. Our correspondent Olu Phillips tells us more.
It's official. The effect of COVID-19 is gradually taking its toll on Nigeria. While many were still waking to the need to believe, as noticed in several quarters, that the virus doesn't respect persons or places or boundaries, the realities are here. A litmus is the compliance expected of gatherings like those of the faith-based community.
Romans chapter 15, verse 4.
Deserted halls, not out of fear, as they say, but in obedience to civil rule. The clergy explains why a semblance of a worship service had to hold, especially on digital platforms.
Psalm 91, if you read it from the beginning to at least verse 10, you will hear that this will be non-some pestilence. Non-some in the sense that it will be loud, a terror that comes by day, by night. Places will be shut down and the rest of it. But he made us there to understand that those that trust in him, he will be their refuge.
The pictures are as vivid as the word reality. So what next?
It's shaking the system of the world. It's testing the government, the quality of governance, the quality of leadership. It's trying the system that is in place. God did not cause the crisis, the virus, but he allowed it. And he allowed it for good. It's to wake us up and to let us know the way we used to do things is not sustainable.
Did this take the faith-based community unaware, given the insights they've always provided, and are they cringing under its impact?
At the beginning of the year, when I was giving you the prophecies concerning the new year, I did tell you that God said that this year the world will behave like a child in convulsion. But there was something extra he said, which I couldn't tell you then. He told me loud and clear that this year, the whole world is going to be on compulsory holiday. When I heard that one, that was difficult to explain. But now, the compulsory holiday is here. Because my daddy says he wants to show the world that he's still the one in control.
The concept of one world, one people, a global community has come to an identifiable clarity. But sadly, COVID-19 is the conveying mechanism for those messages, and with some elements of brutality. The question to ask is, how many more institutions going forward will be shut down owing to the fear and or the precaution in reducing the spread of COVID-19? Does this suggest that we really do not have control over those who may have it and who may be amongst us? These are some questions that I think and we should expect the authorities to answer in the days ahead. From Ikeja, here in Lagos, Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, how much more are Nigerians complying with the social distancing order? Surprisingly, some persons still don't believe that coronavirus is already in Nigeria. We'll tell you more shortly. Please join us again.